Hey everyone, Alyssa Lyons from EverFi. SEL, Social Emotional Learning. There's no doubt that we've heard those three highly important letters spoken about in our schools and in our classrooms. So today we have a thought-provoking conversation with Victoria Thompson, also known as Victoria the Tech. We dive into what it means to have SEL in your schools with equity. We don't want it to be just a buzzword, and how we can create equitable experiences for all students. So let's listen in.
My name is Victoria Thompson, and I started teaching in Summerville, South Carolina. So I graduated from College of Charleston, which is in Charleston, South Carolina, and then I really started my journey teaching 5th and 6th grade math and science in Summerville, South Carolina, where I met my wife, and she's in the military, and she's like, "We're going to Seattle!" So we moved from that base, which is where we met, over to the Seattle area. And I found that when I was teaching there, because I was also the youngest person on the hall, they always wanted me to do techie things. So, they wouldn't call the IT person, they'd call me to, help with the tech platform. They'd call me to help with the smart board. They'd call me to help with the computer. So I was really able to leverage that really educational technology on the go learning experience I had in South Carolina into a tech role here in the Seattle area. So my job is a STEM integration transformation coach, and I feel like it's the best of both worlds. So what I do is I help teachers with STEM integration in their school. So that's a little bit of the math and science from beforehand. I also help with tech initiatives. So if teachers need help with a tech platform or just really using it to elevate instruction, I can help with that. And then I also drive school transformation, which really means thinking about schools not just in boxes, right? Like math's over here, science is over here, but what can we do to use subjects to not just build community, but also build equity?
We love the name Victoria the Tech. Where did that originate?
So when I did my student teaching, because my bachelor's is in elementary education, even though I've almost always been in middle school and high schools. My cooperating teacher was very anti-technology. She was phasing out and I was phasing in. We were doing more things with educational technology. And the kids, of course, were so excited, right? We're using iPads, we're going up to the smart board. We just did a ton of cool things. We're watching videos, we're using technology. And then I'm also a very big believer in student-centered instruction. You as the teacher, you're still valuable. Technology adds to what you're doing in your toolbox. It doesn't take away who you are or what you do. And that's how I approach it, right? As an educator and as a coach now and as an ed tech consultant, technology doesn't take away anything from your role. It really enhances what you do. And that's what it means to me. We can make technology equitable. We can make it less scary to people that think it's scary. All it takes really is explaining that this is another tool in your toolkit.
Just because classrooms have access to technology doesn't mean that it's always being implemented in the most equitable way. What are some tips and tricks that you would give teachers who have technology and want to make sure that students have the best experience?
The number one tip I give teachers that I think anyone can institute just right now is making sure that students are able to see themselves within the platform. Something else I always tell people is that, it's okay to start small and that baby steps are still steps. I was working with a teacher not too long ago and I was showing her a tool and she admitted that, even though the tool looked cool, she'd feel really overwhelmed using it tomorrow without having time to play around with it first. And I'm like, that's fair. So now let's choose something else that you might feel more comfortable with, because you don't have to go immediately out the gate the very first time and just use all the tools all the time, always. Start with what you're comfortable with and make sure you have enough time to play around with it so that way you can answer questions for the kids. Something else really just to create an equitable learning environment regardless of age and regardless of content, is asking them, like asking the students, what do you want to do? And then how can I support you? Like, I remember one of our content areas was doing video creation for culture. And there was like a group of 3 students, and rice was like a shared food amongst all of their cultures. So they were creating a video that kind of explained the intersectionality of the food, and then they created like a food dish on it. And that was super cool. But again, that came from teachers asking kids, hey, if we're doing a project on culture, what do you think you want to do?
You stated in an article that there is no true SEL without equity. Can you explain what that means?
SEL is interesting for me because I feel like this is the new buzzword. So that's very challenging for me because that's not equitable when you don't put your money where your mouth is. So that's equity issue number 1. Equity issue number 2 is that for every single student, even though SEL is important, SEL is going to look differently. So when I say no SEL without equity, like that's like the equivalent to all of us just doing like forced meditation during a staff meeting. It's not equitable if we can't reach them there. It goes both ways. It goes with kids, it goes with administrators. We all just need to be mindful and take care of each other.
After listening to Victoria's insightful tips and advice, reflect on your own current practices with technology and SEL. Are there adjustments that can be made? Is something working really well that should be shared with the greater community? Comment those below. And find a variety of no-cost SEL resources for your classroom by visiting everfi.com/K-12. We highly recommend exploring the Compassion Project, Character Playbook, and Mental Wellness Basics for your students.